Yakripatamaham Bande Paramanandamadam Sri Caitanya Ishwaram Katanchana Smriti Yasmin Dushkaram Sukaram Bhavet Smriti Vipritam Syat Sri Caitanyam Namamitam. Any volunteers to read today? Leela Mai Mataji, would you be able to read today?
Krishna Prabhu.
Would you be able to read today?
Yes, I can read, Prabhu.
Okay, please go ahead.
So shall I start? Do I start from the beginning of what is appearing on this page?
Yes, Mataji. Yes. Rudradeep Prabhu. I mean, I can't see the screen. Rudradeep Prabhu, you have marked it correctly?
Yeah, we finished. We finished till then everything is possible. Then from during, yeah, we should stop.
All right. Okay.
And I'm very much to you. I sometimes think of my children. I was very sorry. The page has changed, Prabhu. So I start from here now. Okay, I'll start again. During Prabhupada's 10-day stay in New York, the devotees remained in a triumphant, euphoric mood. For the
Krishna, I'm not sure whether it's
it's cutting out. Okay. Right. Okay. The devotees had permission from the city to have the parade down. Okay, shall I continue? My voice, just give me a minute, Prabhu. Is it better now? Hare Krishna Prabhu, is it better now?
Definitely better.
Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah. Prabhupada
it's breaking again.
Most important city in the world, and that a skyscraper
Mataji,
would be a beacon of Krishna consciousness for the world.
Your voice
so
is breaking
now
in the
ISKCON
beginning.
had its skyscraper
Mataji,
in Manhattan. Its Rath Yatra parade down Fifth Avenue. Sorry, Prabhu, it's going bad again.
Yeah, can you start from the beginning again?
Okay. Now
it's better.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I can hear you.
Yeah, but your voice was breaking. I don't know.
Prabhu.
You're generally in Bangalore, and Bangalore is one of the best places for
during
the internet.
Prabhupada's 10-day stay in New York, the devotees maybe it's the building where I am. Maybe it's the building where I am. A little bit more open. Just give me 1 minute. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, it's good now.
It's good now? Okay, fine.
Yes, no. Can you start from beginning, Madhu? Can you start from beginning? Yeah.
I'll start from the beginning. Yes. During Prabhupada's 10-day stay in New York, the devotees remained in a triumphant, euphoric mood. For the Rath Yatra, the devotees had permission from the city to have the parade down Fifth Avenue. Prabhupada had said that New York was the most important city in the world,
Mataji,
and that a
your voice is breaking.
skyscraper would be a ISKCON had its again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rudradeep, can you just read? We'll see. I mean, if she gets a better connection. Meanwhile, can you read? Rudradeep,
Okay. Okay.
Start from the beginning.
During Prabhupada's 10-day stay in New York, the devotees remained in a triumphant, euphoric mood. For the Rath Yatra, the devotees had permission from the city to have the parade down Fifth Avenue. Prabhupada had said that New York was the most important city in the world and that the skyscraper would be a beacon of Krishna consciousness for the world. So now ISKCON has its skyscraper in Manhattan, its Rath Yatra parade down Fifth Avenue, and Prabhupada's personal presence. One morning, Prabhupada went to where the carts were being built, and Jayananda and his men showed him the improved construction of the giant wheels. Jayananda, who was terminally ill with leukemia, was absorbing himself in the service that had made him dear to Prabhupada and to all the devotees, organizing Rath Yatra and overseeing the construction of the carts. Prabhupada would ride to Central Park to take his morning walks. Passing through familiar neighborhoods, he recalled the old days of 1965 and 1966. One morning, Kirtananda Swami rode with him in the car. My best moments are those early days, said Kirtanananda, especially the morning classes, Srila Prabhupada. When you would be sitting behind the desk, the sun would just be coming in, and you would walk for an hour. Yes, said Srila Prabhupada. Only Hayagriva and you and Prabhupada and Kirtanananda recall some of the other early devotees, Umapati, Carl Jürgens, Jim Greeny, Rai Raman, Satsarup, Brahmananda. At that time, said Prabhupada, Kirtananda Maharaj was taking one chapati. Nothing else? Asked Tamal Krishna. I would offer, said Prabhupada, but he would take one or two, that's all. Later on, 1 dozen. And that boy, Shradisha, he would take at least 20 chapatis. I would say, Shradisha, can I offer you? He would say, yes. I gave 4. Again finished, again 4. Originally, said Kirtanananda, we all ate from Prabhupada's plate. There was one plate for prasadam, and Prabhupada would just give a little for everybody, and everybody would be satisfied. I used to keep some prasadam, said Prabhupada. Anyone would come, I would give. After class, recalled Kirtanananda, you always distributed some prasadam after kirtan and class. Yes, said Prabhupada. I was clapping my hands in the meeting. I used to collect not less than $6, not more than $20, 3 times a week. Although Srila Prabhupada's triumph was that the early days of struggle were over. When he recalled them, he was immersed in a very special, sweet remembrance. He changed from one mood to another and sometimes mixed them. The days of his helpless, utter dependence on Krishna, when no one else was present, and his present satisfaction, surrounded by hundreds of faithful disciples. While remembering the old days, he was now realizing his original goals for ISKCON New York, the beacon light of our worldwide propaganda. In the late afternoon, as the sun was setting, Srila Prabhupada liked to sit on the roof of his skyscraper and asked his disciples, and his disciples would sit with him. Although the building was in Midtown, being situated on the west side afforded it a feeling of distance from the intensity of Manhattan. Prabhupada would look out at the Manhattan skyline and a breeze from the Houston would ease the July heat. One evening, some of the devotees described to Srila Prabhupada some of the abominable activities going on in the city. They told him of prostitution and pornography, of acts of rampant criminal violence, and of strange fetishes and fads of the flesh eaters, including the eating of human fetuses. This means, said Prabhupada, that we're actually preaching to animals. One night on the roof, Rameshwar Swami asked Srila Prabhupada to reveal his plan for conquering the world with Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was silent. Finally, he said, no, because if I tell you my plans, then they may be spoiled. He had a plan, he said, but they were not ready for it. The Rath Yatra procession, when it's 350 foot tall, with its 350 foot tall carts, began at Grand Army Plaza on Fifth Avenue and proceeded downtown. Young men, girls in saris, Indians, New Yorkers, hundreds tugged at the ropes, pulling the gigantic chariots, with silken towers billowing yellow, green, red, and blue in the wind. Slowly and majestically the carts sailed south. The parade was complete with beautiful weather, hundreds of chanting and dancing devotees, and thousands of onlookers. And the route was some 50 blocks down the Fifth Avenue, the most important street in the world, to Washington Square Park. At 34th Street, Papa joined the procession, and he came forward to board the chariot of Subhadra. The devotees converged around him, amazing the policemen and other onlookers with their spontaneous adoration of Krishna's representative. Although the inner meaning of Rath Yatra is the gopis' desire for Krishna to return to Vrindavan, these devotees were more absorbed in Srila Prabhupada's return to New York. It was gorgeous, appropriate climax to Prabhupada's 10 years of preaching in the New York City. When he had first come, he had had no money, no place of his own to live, and no place for people to congregate and hear about Krishna. Now he was riding in splendor down Fifth Avenue at a Ratha Yatra festival, and his Radha Govinda deities had a skyscraper. In 1965, he had been alone in the street, but now he was accompanied by 600 disciples, loudly singing the holy name and benefiting millions of conditioned souls. In front of Subhadra's cart walked Jayananda, holding the steering tongue, keeping the cart on course. As Prabhupada sat comfortably on the cart, he fondly glanced at Jayananda from time to time. Jayananda, steering with his left hand, would hold his right hand upraised, cheering Prabhupada's Ratha Yatra and rallying the others to pull the rope and chant Hare Krishna. When the procession arrived, Washington Square Park was crowded with people. A temporary stage had been erected, and Srila Prabhupada and the deities took their places. Kirtananda Swami introduced Prabhupada before the crowd, and Prabhupada stood up to speak. Beginning by explaining the significance of Rath Yatra, Srila Prabhupada told the story of how the Jagannath deities were carved at the request of the king of Orissa over 2,000 years ago. When the king had disturbed the sculptor before the deities were completed, the sculptor had left. But the king decided, I shall worship this unfinished deity. Never mind. So the devotee is offering, Prabhupada continued, and Krishna accepts. If it is offered with love and affection, he says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. Krishna says, anyone who offers him a little flower, a little water, a little fruit, with love and affection, I eat them, I accept them. That means that even the poorest man in the world can worship God. There is no hindrance. Ahetuki apari apratihata. Devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. There is no restriction of caste or creed or country, nation. Anyone can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to his means. And our Krishna conscious movement is a propagation to teach people how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is our mission. Because without relationship with God, without reviving our internal affinity with God, we cannot be happy. All living entities, Prabhupada explained, are children of the Supreme Father, Krishna, or God, but only if the human form of life can one understand his relationship with God. If one misuses his life and doesn't understand his duty to Krishna, then his life is spoiled. So please do not take this Krishna conscious movement as any sectarian movement. It is the science of God. Try to understand the science of God. Either you accept it directly or you try to understand through philosophy and science. We have got so many books. Kindly take advantage of this movement. Why we are distributing so many literatures. Soberly and with calm head, try to understand this movement. This is our only mission. Thank you very much. As Srila Prabhupada left to return to the temple, prasadam distribution began, and the dramatic actors prepared to go on stage with the rendition of the Kali and his consort Sin. In the evening of the parade and festival received good coverage on all major TV stations, and the next morning pictures and articles appeared in the newspapers. Prabhupada particularly liked the New York Daily News center spread, where several photos bore a large caption, Fifth Avenue where East meets West. Send this cutting to many places, Prabhupada said. Send it to Indira Gandhi. The title is very nice. This is the point. East meets West. As I always say, the lame man meets the blind man. Together they do wonderful, and apart they cannot do anything. He's lame and he's blind. But if they join together, Indian culture with American money, they will save the whole world. Srila Prabhupada heard from the New York Times article, which stressed how the parade included hundreds of Indians who were pleased to see they could keep faith even in New York City. The article quoted an Indian immigrant as saying, "We love New York City. America is the most beautiful place in the world. No other country will give such freedom for our own ceremony." That's a fact, Prabhupada said. That I always say. The Times first published about my activities when I was in Tompkins Square Park at the festival site. Prasadam had been served to 7,000 people, and even when the devotees had walked back uptown with the carts late at night, hundreds of people had followed and chanted. The devotees were already talking about how to improve the festival for next year. They could have a press box, and Prabhupada suggested they rent a small building downtown and call it Gundicha. Lord Jagannath could stay there for 1 week, and then the devotees who should have another procession and festival with Lord Jagannath returning to the temple on 55th Street. Last night, said Tamal Krishna Goswami, all night we were cleaning up the grounds at the park. So one woman who lives next to the park said, in all my years of living here, I've never seen such a wonderful festival held. And on CBS television, the official who is in charge of the park said, we're very proud and to be able to say that this park was founded hundreds of years ago when America was religious, and that spiritual life is still present in Washington Square Park. So why not ask the mayor to construct a temple there, said Srila Prabhupada. The devotees all laughed, but Prabhupada thought such things were certainly possible. Srila Prabhupada's health was worsening, as often happened when he traveled extensively. Particularly in New York, his health began to suffer. His itinerary was to continue on to London, Paris, Tehran, Bombay, and then to Hyderabad. where he could conduct an opening ceremony of a new ISKCON temple. Senior devotees entreated him to rest a while before going to England and India. He had spent a very pleasant day in ISKCON farm in Pennsylvania, and the devotees suggested he go there for 2 or 3 months to rest, recover his health, and write. Every day they would beg him to please stay. When he heard that the GBC members in New York had unanimously recommended he not immediately travel, he said, "All right, I will not travel." But he could not be bound by the GBC, only by Krishna. He already had his plane tickets and he remained set on traveling. On the morning of Prabhupada's departure, a few devotees came to his room to make a last attempt, begging him not to travel. He said nothing, though he was obviously set on leaving. His servants were packing his bags and everything was ready to go. Nevertheless, even as he left his room and got on the elevator, few men followed, still suggesting he not go. Prabhupada, please reconsider, said Rameshwar Swami. Srila Prabhupada had remained jolly so far despite his physical weakness and despite his disciples pleading, but now his face changed. Don't travel, one devotee said. Another devotee added, just stay, sit down and rest. Prabhupada turned and his eyes were very deep. More than ever, he seemed not of this material world. I want the benediction to go on fighting for Krishna, he said, just like Arjuna. Everyone remained silent, and the important instruction burned into their memories. The elevator opened on the main floor, and hundreds of waiting devotees chanted and cheered as Srila Prabhupada walked to his car. On the way to the airport, the devotees again and again talking about how degraded Kali Yuga was, but you have to go on and preaching. You have to go on preaching. Prabhupada advised them. You have to go and try save these people. As Srila Prabhupada left America, the devotees that knew he would remain with them as long as they followed his instructions. Besides, even if he was leaving them, he would return. He was coming from India to New York and then going back to India, then coming to the West. He was always traveling between East and West, tugging the two countries together. The lame man and the blind. Like Arjuna, he was fighting, and like Narad Muni, he was always traveling, glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He would never stop, and those who sincerely followed would be with him. Chapter 51, Chant Hare
So
Krishna.
I think you can stop there for a minute, stop there for a few seconds, for a few minutes. So here we saw how Prabhupada was very determined to continue to fight like a soldier for Krishna. So that was very evident in this episode. One thing that is outstanding about Prabhupada was a genius because he is the only person who produced so many volumes of literature, even amidst hectic schedules, traveling, managing. Nobody in the history of humanity has produced like this. Even materially speaking, nobody has been able to match that part of it. Probably nobody has done a study, but if someone were to do a study, they would find that it's impossible to do something like this because writers usually they take time out and it's not easy. It's not easy, or they take long amounts of time to write one book. But Prabhupada produced so many volumes of books, and that too by distilling the commentaries of the previous acharyas. And as Prabhupada would say, he sometimes he would have to think to make it understandable for the common man. So, and here in the beginning, we saw, as the reading, we saw how Prabhupada is very grateful to all his followers who helped him to establish the Krishna consciousness movement. So there is nothing called Prabhupada alone. It is Prabhupada and his followers. Just like there is nothing called Krishna alone. It is Krishna and his devotees. So we should always bear this in mind, that there is nothing called Prabhupada alone. It is Prabhupada and his followers. And he did say many times that his followers were sent by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to help him in the Krishna consciousness movement. Sometimes he said that they were devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in their past lives, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed them in different parts of the world so they could assist Srila Prabhupada in this extended Leela of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is something which we need to bear in mind, that the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have not ended. He is physically unmanifest, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but his Leela would extend for another 10,000 years. And we are fortunate to be participants in the extended pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because his prediction, it is his prediction, Prithivite ache yata nagaradri gram sarvatra prachar hoibe moranam. In every town and village, my name will be sung. So Prabhupada brought that to fruition. Prabhupada made that a reality. And one of the ways in which he made that a reality was by his Rath Yatras. And here we see Jayananda Prabhu, even though he had leukemia, he was completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, in organizing the Rath Yatra. I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but Jayananda Prabhu had a form of cancer, which is extremely painful, as it I mean, painful in the sense that it would look like each pore on his body would be on fire. So he was in that kind of situation. And Rameshwara Prabhu, was previously Rameshwara Swami, was the last person who saw him before he left his body, and he was physically there. So after Mangalarati, Rameshwar Prabhu went to Jayananda Prabhu's room, and Jayananda Prabhu was lying crumpled on bed in pain, and then suddenly, after a point in time, he just loosened up, completely laid down straight, turned his head towards there was a recording machine of Prabhupada chanting. He turned his head towards that machine where Prabhupada was chanting, and he just left. So until the last moment, he was Krishna conscious. So these are all extraordinary devotees who were associates of Srila Prabhupada, and who helped him in establishing the Krishna consciousness movement. And Prabhupada always remained very indebted to them. That is the nature of Prabhupada's relationship with his followers. Now, of course, we have second generation and third generation and so on, but Srila Prabhupada always remains indebted to all his followers who help him to establish the Krishna consciousness movement. Usually, after the end of every chapter, we have a short session for reflections or comments or questions. So we'll take some reflections or comments or questions now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, you said just now that those devotees in the beginning, they were sent by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati for assisting Srila Prabhupada, or means they are the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like who were there to help them. But they were like at that time like a hippies and with all kind of bad habits and all those things. Can we say that it's just to show that from that condition also they can come to the level of Krishna consciousness, or is it because of their previous karma they were there in that position, those devotees who then they means were they like hippies and they then became devotees? How
My
can we like
realization has been, my realization,
understand?
my understanding has been that during Krishna Leela, there were eternal
Mm,
associates of the Lord, and there were others who had attained perfection, who had prayed to Lord Ramachandra in their previous life, and then there were others, just generally others. So there were all categories of people who were involved in Krishna Leela, and that's generally true to for in every Leela. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited South India, he just gave his cost. That's why it's called costless, right? He just happens to see them, and they attain love of Godhead. Uh, so, in every Leela of the Lord or his great devotees, you have a mix of people. So, it was a mix of different things. Now, you may ask the question, but where was the pure Brahmana? You never had any pure Brahmana, right? In the West. So, can we say that? Well, we can't really identify who's who sometimes because, take for example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur
mm.
was an eternal associate of the Lord. He wrote a book called Swa Likita Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, I can hear you.
So he wrote a book called Swa Likita Jivani. He gave that book to he he gave that to Lalit Prasad Thakur, his brother, and he said this copy is only for you, not to be published. But
Mm.
somehow there's some disturbance. Are you talking, Mataji?
No, Prabhuji, really, I'm in Mayapur, Prabhuji. So, like, here there is no signal also properly, and there are like little bit other talking. That's why I was keeping it in mute, Prabhuji, but I could hear you.
Yeah, but you're not on mute. I mean, we can hear you talk actually.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. Then you asked something, that's why I unmuted it, Prabhu. I'll mute again, Prabhuji.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written his autobiography called Swa Likita Jivani, and it was given to Lalit Prasad Thakur on his request and his son. And he was and Bhaktivinoda Thakur said not to publish that, but somehow with time it got published, and now it is available widely. So in that we can see how Bhaktivinoda Thakur was would like Christian theology. He was even he would even eat meat, you know, and so like that. It said Bhakti when Prabhupada was asked about it. Prabhupada simply said, "He is an eternal associate of the Lord. So what he does cannot be understood from our point of view, of from our conditioned point of view." Similarly, Prabhupada is a follower of Gandhi, and of course, Prabhupada did not eat meat, but he was a follower of Gandhi and things like that, right? At one point in this time, at some point in time. So these activities as a pure devotees, you cannot understand. Now, I'm not trying to say that the followers of Prabhupada, from those from the background of hippies, were all like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That's not my point. All that I'm saying is we don't know who among them or what, I mean, uh, who among them or somewhere else or who were the associates of Prabhupada, eternal associates of Prabhupada. We don't know. But you just can't take it only from the background of, just can't take it only from their background. But just like Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we should see what happens once they take to Krishna consciousness. Once there's a point in time, all eternal associates of the Lord, there is a certain point in time when they manifest their full Krishna consciousness. So from that point onwards, you don't find any fluctuations and nothing. You don't find anything actually, anything which is apparently contradictory to the practices of or principles of pure devotional service. So in that sense, yeah, we should see, it has to be seen on an individual case-to-case basis. Whether someone who took to Krishna consciousness during Prabhupada's time has never faltered, then we can take it that I mean, never faltered means there's only been constantly his his or her Krishna consciousness has been constantly blooming. Then we can take it that I mean, not we can't take it for as a guarantee, but at least probably they're eternal associates of the Lord of Srila Prabhupada. Sorry, like that. So yeah, that's what it is. Is that clear?
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
But there are others who are not also. I mean, it's a mix. It's a mix.
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam, Jagan Shurpad.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, Prabhu, a couple of things. Firstly, Prabhupada has famously quoted when devotees have asked him, what are our qualifications? And he said, you have no qualifications, I made your qualifications.
Yes.
And then we have the counter to that, where Prabhupada says, you were sent by my Guru Maharaj to assist me. So we have the spectrum of, on the one hand, disqualification to start with, that Prabhupada made their qualification. And then on the other hand, we have perhaps the karmic background and the sukriti that they may have been built, and in order for them to have come to the platform of Krishna consciousness and Krishna's mercy. And then we have Prabhupada's statement of, you were sent by my Guru Maharaj to assist me in this movement. So we have a whole spectrum of tattvas here. How do we use that spectrum? And then secondly, we have very, very senior, very close devotees of Srila Prabhupada who did such immense amount of work for Srila Prabhupada in the early days, like Kirtananda Swami, who then later fell in such a dramatic and quite a unbelievable manner in terms of what's gone on and what happened, and supposedly at least I don't know. Now, so there's a whole mixture of things here. How should we, the novice devotees, try and understand all of that mixture of facts and sort of philosophies?
Actually, during Srila Prabhupada's time, okay, as I said in this short talk that I gave just now, a little bit ago when I was talking, the characteristic of the eternal associates are that until a certain point in their life, they don't manifest their full Krishna consciousness. Like Prabhupada, until he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his Krishna consciousness was hidden. Similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But once they manifest it, that's it. Then there is no turning back. You don't find flip-flops and all kind, nothing. You just don't find anything. Actually, that's it. So it's like two separate, distinct, hidden and unhidden Krishna consciousness. That's it. So that's a clear, definitive indicator of someone who's properly, who's from past life, or an associate of Prabhupada and things like that. But having said that, we have situations, as you said, where devotees have fallen down and things like that. Definitely, they cannot be taken as eternal associates of the Lord. They cannot fall down, right? There's no question of someone who's perfect already falls down. Like Prabhupada says, later in the 1976, 77, those conversations about Varnashrama, he says Vaishnavas means they don't fall down. That's it. But there's a question of Vaishnavas falling down. So to bring them to the platform of Vaishnava, you need Varnashrama. All these things he says. So my take on it is that a large majority of devotees were not in the category of eternal associates of Prabhupada and things like that. The vast majority of them were not. Testified by the fact that the vast majority of the disciples left or had difficulties and things like that. So, however, like how do you say? We cannot. What do you say? We cannot generalize it. Like in Vedic terms, when people would say something, it would always be contextual. Like Prabhupada would sometimes say, right? Show me where is a woman scientist. Show me even one woman scientist. Now, this is a very classic way of talking in India, where I've seen even my grandfather talk like that. But I know because of my interactions with my grandfather that I know that this is not literally meant to be taken literally. It means it's rare. That's what it means. So it's not that sometimes people say, okay, Prabhupada said, show me one woman scientist. Madame Curie existed, right? So then Prabhupada is wrong? No, that's not the point. Prabhupada is trying to emphasize, that's how they talk in India. Those from the Vedic times, they talk like that. that show me a person, at least one person, something like that. They talk like that emphatically. That does not mean literally there is no persons, but it means that it's very rare. So like that, we have to see Prabhupada's, when he speaks in context, when he speaks, it has to be seen in the context in which he's speaking. So when he speaks about his followers being sent by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, does not necessarily mean that all of them are his eternal associates. No. It could simply mean that some of them were, from their past life, they've done some Krishna consciousness, due to which they have come to, help assist Srila Prabhupada. So when Prabhupada says, I have made you good fortune, generally, yes, vast majority of the people, yes. But some of them were devotees in their past lives, and they were fortunate to be sent to associate with Srila Prabhupada. So both things are there, but generally, yes, as I was saying, it's rare. It's, the sense that it's not, the vast majority are not like eternal associates of the Lord, or who have done tremendous amount of Krishna conscious activities in their past lives, and have therefore met Prabhupada. Those categories of people are also there, but they are not the vast majority. Now, people who have done Sukriti in their past lifetime, having met Prabhupada, could also fall down. But eternal associates don't fall down. There's no category called eternal associates of Prabhupada, but not eternal associates of Krishna. Basically, it means eternal associates of the Lord who are associated with Prabhupada. It's a very vast topic, so I hope I have not made it more difficult to understand.
No, thank you. One other comment, perhaps you mentioned that in the history of humanity, perhaps that might be too bold a statement, because you have obviously Vyasadeva, who fits within the history of humanity, and obviously he has written all the original Vedas and etc. So it's, I think Srila Prabhupada is not necessarily exclusive in terms of the history of humanity and writing such volumes. You have other great saints that may have also written such volumes as well.
Okay, good point. Good point. That's why I qualified it by saying this many books with all these other things going on. You could say Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we have to see how many, what exactly was this. Anyway, but again,
without a shadow of a doubt, it is a superhuman achievement that Srila Prabhupada is, and one of very few rare cases.
Vyasadeva is a sage, right? Vyasadeva is a sage. That's what he does during those days. That's what they do. They write, they teach. But Prabhupada had to do a lot of activities. He had to do activities of a Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Shudra also. It's like he had to do everything, actually. That sense I was saying.
Vyasadeva took many thousands of years as well writing. Prabhupada did it in 10 years.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Not necessarily that the volume alone, but the volume in the time and with the activities that were going on. Anyway, when I was talking about it, I was generally referring to secular society. I didn't think in terms of the acharyas. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up. You brought in a new perspective about for acharyas. I was mainly thinking in terms of secular society. What else? Anyone else who would like to share some thoughts? I think we have a new guest here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna Prabhu. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was also thinking that even though Srila Prabhupada is unwell and all of that, and also on one side, his disciples are so endearing and they want him to rest and all that. But he's so clear in what he wants to do, and yeah, so that's like that really comes out very clearly, his determination to continue with all the services that he has. So
Actually, Prabhupada was not convinced that his disciples could manage effectively with him just writing. So he Prabhupada was somebody who would just do the needful in Krishna's service. So if it's needful, he would manage. If it's needful, he would try to figure out how to get money for his account. If it's needful, he would do the work of menial work also. Whatever it takes, whatever is in Krishna's interest. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, we'll go on to the next chapter.
if you like, I could read, Prabhu. You want to try?
Yeah, now I think you're in a better place. I think I may also be able to turn on my video in a short while. I think I'm getting to a better place with it. Let's see. Okay, please go ahead. Let's see how it goes.
Chapter 51. Chant Hare Krishna and Fight. Bombay, January 9, 1977. Srila Prabhupada started his morning walk before dawn. He and his devotees knew their way well through Hare Krishna land to the public road, and once off the property, they turned left and right and began walking down the block leading to the beach. The sky began to lighten. At first, they could not visibly distinguish land from sea from sky. But gradually, subtle nuances of color revealed the horizon, and they could see the vast plain of the Arabian Sea stretching to meet the even greater sea of sky, where last stars sprinkled and faded. As Prabhupada and his small group walked along the broad beach, they were flanked on their left by a line of leaning palms and on their right by a rumbling surf. Srila Prabhupada wore a grey woolen chadar around his shoulders, a saffron silk kurta and dhoti, and peach-colored canvas shoes. He used a cane, leaning not heavily on it, but lightly. With each brisk step, he would point the cane ahead, poking it into the sand and lifting it again, rhythmically marking the pace. He walked erectly and held his head high. A long line of Bombayites, many of them wealthy Juhu residents on their morning stroll, appeared, and a few coconut wallahs set up their carts, cutting off the tops of choice coconuts in anticipation of their first customers. Srila Prabhupada liked to walk in this time of the morning, and weather permitting, he would do so no matter where he was in the world. Juhu Beach, however, was one of his favorite places to walk. Along the way, he and his disciples were joined by Dr. Patel in white shirt and pants, and several of his friends, mostly doctors and lawyers. Srila Prabhupada had been silent, but now he began to speak. How everything is nice, Srila Prabhupada commented, gesturing towards the beach before him. See the sky, how clear and how nice by Krishna. Purnamidam. With his cane, he indicated the tall, graceful palm trees. The tree is called Vriksha, he said. The Vriksha Yoni, or birth as a tree, is condemned. By Krishna's arrangement, however, the Vrikshas are also so nicely set up. It becomes beautiful. They're all representatives of Krishna, said Dr. Patel. This is perfect. Purnam, said Srila Prabhupada, quoting Ishopanishad. Purnamidam Purnamadaha. Just as the rising sun illumines everything, Srila Prabhupada discoursed, speaking against the atheistic notion that the complex material creation has no creator. God's creation, said Prabhupada, is perfect and complete because it comes from Him who is Purnam, perfect and complete. Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Paramanu means smaller than the atom. 6 Paramanus make 1 Anu. That is atomic dimension. You combine 6 Paramanus, so in that Paramanu also, the Lord is there. He made it, said Dr. Patel, and then he entered into it. That is what the Veda says. Yes, said Prabhupada, the Paramatma is there. The whole human life is meant for understanding all this and glorifying the Lord. And they are wasting their lives by imitating the hog. Prabhupada again fell silent, except for softly uttering the Hare Krishna mantra. Now beach was light, and many people out on their morning walks or runs greeted Srila Prabhupada as they passed. The greetings were always words of respect, or at least good morning, and Srila Prabhupada's response was usually Hare Krishna. Suddenly, Prabhupada again began to speak. There is a very big conspiracy against us. By the church? Guessed Dr. Patel. Not by the church, said Prabhupada. By the society? Prabhupada uttered a thoughtful then added, now they are determined to cut down this movement. He didn't give any details, and neither Dr. Patel nor the others could fully draw out what was on his mind. Whatever it was, said Dr. Patel, no conspiracy against Krishna consciousness could take place in India. I wanted to start this movement in India, Prabhupada replied. I requested so many friends. Give me just one son. But nobody agreed. They said, Swamiji, what will be the benefit by this if I make my son a Vaishnava or a Brahmana? They do not give much importance to the movement. They are planning how to stop this movement in so many ways. Always a faithful Indophile, Dr. Patel replied. The Americans are like that, always making propaganda. There is a good and bad in every place, said Prabhupada. Krishna says, Manushyanam Sahasreshu. Out of thousands of persons, hardly anyone is interested in perfecting his life. This is Kali Yuga. They walked on, and Srila Prabhupada said no more about it, speaking instead of materialistic household life, in which the chief pleasure is sex. Beyond this abominable sex pleasure, he said, was the full satisfaction of spiritual life. Prabhupada walked for half an hour and then turned around and began walking back, wanting to return to the temple by 7, just in time to greet the deities. Some of the others were flagged from the brisk pace, but Srila Prabhupada strode on, his golden-hued face triumphant in self-realization. Prabhupada began talking about the importance of satsanga, association with devotees, and Dr. Patel quipped, instead of doing satsanga, people go to the Kumbh Mela. He laughed as if it were a good joke. But Prabhupada corrected him. No, he said, Kumbh Mela is satsanga. If you go to Kumbh Mela to find a man of knowledge, then your Kumbh Mela is right. Otherwise, yattirtha buddhi salilena karhichit saeva gokhara. If one thinks that this salila, the water, that just to take bath in the water is Kumbh Mela, then he is a gokhara, a cow or an ass. But if he thinks now there is an assembly of so many saintly persons, let me take advantage of their knowledge, then he is intelligent. Ever since Srila Prabhupada had arrived in Bombay, he had been questioned about the upcoming Kumbh Mela at Allahabad. The Magha Mela occurred every year, but according to astrological calculations, a more auspicious occasion came every 12th year, Kumbh Mela. And every 12th Kumbh Mela, an event that occurred only once in 144 years, was especially auspicious. This year, 1977, was to be such a Mela, and the government was predicting an attendance of 12 million at the confluence of the holy rivers near Allahabad. Srila Prabhupada had said he would go. So, sir, said Dr. Patel, you're going by train to Kumbh Mela? Srila Prabhupada replied that he liked the train, but Dr. Patel said it was not good for health and that it would be a very long ordeal. He also warned Prabhupada that Allahabad would be very cold, and if Prabhupada wanted to leave the Mela early, he would find it very difficult because of the crowds. I'll get one of my friends to get me some water from Allahabad on that day, laughed Dr. Patel. I'll take my bath here. Dr. Patel's friends also mentioned the difficulties of extreme weather and crowds at Allahabad during the Mela. Srila Prabhupada, however, was not swayed. He was well acquainted with Allahabad, having lived there with his family from 1923 to 1936. In 1925, said Prabhupada, I went to the Mela. I remember I was touching the water and it was so pinching that it was cutting your body. But as soon as you actually get a dip, 1, 2, 3, then you immediately come out and it is all right. Prabhupada mentioned the 1928 Mela when he was carrying his young child. I was in the midst of the crowd, he recalled. It was so big that I was afraid that if there was any rush, this child may be finished. But by the grace of Krishna, nothing happened. What is the reason for the Mela? Asked Prabhupada's servant Hari Shauri. Is it something about some drops of nectar from the Mohini Murti? It is actually a religious conference, Prabhupada replied. All the different groups gather in that holy place and they propagate their philosophy there. India is a country of religion. They know spiritual life is more important than this material life. That is India. Now they are diverting their attention to the material. Otherwise, the whole of India is for spiritual life. About 5 minutes before 7, Srila Prabhupada left the beach and walked back to Hare Krishna land. As he approached, he saw the massive two-story towers of the ISKCON Hotel and the even taller and grander temple domes. The buildings, however, were unfinished. The temple domes had to be covered with marble, and all the buildings needed numerous finishing touches. Prabhupada was anxiously anticipating the opening, but Surbhi Maharaj spoke of delays. The opening date, therefore, remained indefinite. Delays had been routine ever since Prabhupada had first tried to purchase the Juhu land from Mr. N in 1971, and obstacles had plagued all his attempts to build. Now, the triumph of installing the deities of Radha Rasabihari in one of the most gorgeous temples in India was near. Radha Rasabihari was still being worshipped in the temporary shelter the devotees had erected in 1971. But as Prabhupada approached, he could see the magnificent temple structure looming behind that humble shed, proclaiming that soon Rasabihari would move into his palace. Krishna was blessing the faithful work of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples in Bombay. Although Srila Prabhupada was always traveling, pushing his movement ahead on all fronts, he would regularly return to Bombay. He, more clearly than his disciples, could see when the workers were delaying or even cheating. This time, as before, he would stay for a while, give advice, and then move on. On returning to the ISKCON property, Srila Prabhupada came before the deities and beheld once again the charming beauty that made him sometimes indicate that of all deities, these were the dearest to him. His promise to Radha Rasabihari that he would build them a beautiful temple was soon to become a living reality, but he sometimes expressed doubts as to whether he would live to see it. He was now 81 and was bothered by certain persistent illnesses. Of course, the warnings of death were nothing new to Srila Prabhupada, as he had had serious bouts with illness from the beginning of his preaching in the West in 1965. Yet, despite his frequent remarks about retiring, his disciples found it difficult to imagine. Yes, they should by all means complete the work as soon as possible and open the Bombay temple. And yes, they should assure Prabhupada that he could retire and eventually complete his Srimad Bhagavatam. But of course, Krishna would allow him to remain with them and see the completion of at least these two projects. Each month, one of Srila Prabhupada's GBC men stayed with him to serve as his secretary and to receive direct training and personal association. The secretary for January 1977 was Rameshwar Swami. Prabhupada was genuinely pleased and enlivened when, early in the morning, Rameshwara entered his room, having flown straight from Los Angeles to Bombay. Prabhupada considered Rameshwara an expert ISKCON manager, especially in printing and distributing Krishna-conscious literature, which was Prabhupada's priority in preaching. Rameshwar Swami inquired as a humble servant before his spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada, he said, you look well. Are you feeling well? Srila Prabhupada laughed. At the present moment, I'm feeling well because you're here. Within moments, they were discussing ISKCON's preaching and management, and Prabhupada advised Rameshwara that the best policy was to use money for printing more books. As soon as money accumulated, Prabhupada warned, It would be taxed and would cause headaches. Better to immediately spend it for printing books. Print books and sell and spend, said Srila Prabhupada. Follow this policy and distribute these books. That is our main preaching. Somehow or other, we must take our books door to door and distribute. Then our preaching is successful. Anyone who will read will get some benefit, that is sure, because no other such literature is available throughout the whole world. It is a new revolution to the people in general. When Srila Prabhupada asked for news of ISKCON's activities in the West, Rameshwar gave the latest details of how the Krishna consciousness movement in America was being attacked in the courts and press as a psychologically dangerous brainwashing cult. Srila Prabhupada was already aware of this. It was, in fact, the conspiracy he had referred to on his morning walk. An anti-cult movement was now aggressively active and lumping the Hare Krishna movement in with other new movements. Srila Prabhupada was well aware of the deprogrammers, kidnapping of devotees, and intensely coercing them. And he had shown that he was not intimidated by the attack. He assured the devotees that Krishna would protect them and that the outcome would ultimately be in their favor. The most significant battle, one that had concerned Srila Prabhupada for several months, was a legal case in New York where the temple president, Adi Keshava Swami, was being charged with employing mind control to keep the devotees in the temple. The parents of two adult devotees had pressed charges after hired deprogrammers had failed to break the two devotees' determination for Krishna consciousness. In the spirit of anti-cult crusade, an assistant attorney general was persecuting using all legal and governmental facilities at his disposal. Although civil libertarians were outraged and assured the devotees that the opposition could never win, the implications of the case were fearful nevertheless. The case challenged the very right of the Hare Krishna movement to exist as a bona fide religion and challenged the right of adult devotees to remain in the movement against the wishes of their parents. Also at issue was whether members of the Hare Krishna movement were members by their own choosing or were being kept in the movement by psychological manipulation, brainwashing. When Srila Prabhupada had first heard of this case, his reply in a letter from Vrindavan had been like a clarion call to battle against the forces of illusion. Regarding the point about whether our movement is bona fide, you can use the following arguments. Bhagavad Gita has got so many editions. Our books are older than the Bible. In India, there are millions of Krishna temples. Let the judges and juries read our books and take the opinion of learned scholars and professors. Regarding the second point about the parents' jurisdiction over their children, here are some suggestions. Do the parents like that their children become hippies? Why don't they stop it? Do the parents like their children to become involved in prostitution and intoxication? Why don't they stop this? They are now feeling the weight of this movement. Formerly, they thought, these people come and go, but now they see we are staying. Now we have set fire. It will go on. It cannot be stopped. You can bring big fire brigades, but the fire will act. The brainwash books are already there. Even if they stop externally, internally it will go on. Our first class campaign is book distribution. Go house to house. The real fighting is now. Krishna will give you all protection. So chant Hare Krishna and fight. Sitting with Srila Prabhupada in Bombay, Rameshwar Swami informed him that a nationwide committee of professors and theologians had come to the defense of Krishna consciousness in the New York case, and that many lawyers and psychologists were sympathetic. It is so much mercy from Krishna, said Srila Prabhupada. Krishna wanted all these things to happen. Krishna himself became important when he killed so many demons, not simply by lying down in the lap of Mother Yashoda. When he was on the lap of Mother Yashoda, from that day he began to kill. Therefore, Krishna established that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even Krishna was not exempted. What to speak of us? Prahlad Maharaj was not exempted. As soon as you speak of God, this opposition will come. Jesus Christ was crucified. They are so kind. They have not crucified me or my men. But you have to expect all these things. Nityananda Prabhu was personally injured. Haridas Thakur was beaten in 22 bazaars. This task is like that. They are getting everyone in America to ask the question, what is Hare Krishna? Said Rameshwar. That is our gain, said Srila Prabhupada. They are chanting Hare Krishna. We still have to work very hard to defeat them, Rameshwar added. Oh yes, said Prabhupada, that is necessary. You don't sleep. Never did Krishna say to Arjuna, I'm your friend, I'm God. You sleep here, I'll do everything. No, you must fight. That is wanted. Krishna said, you fight and remember me, then I will do everything. This is an opportunity of remembering Krishna always. Prabhupada explained that the greatest shock for the materialists was that the Krishna consciousness movement strongly opposed illicit sex, meat eating, and intoxication. To them, for a person to give up these things was so shocking that they could not accept it was happening because of a genuine spiritual experience. Referring to a previous case, Prabhupada said, in Germany, they also accuse that the old man is sitting in Los Angeles and he has engaged all these boys in collecting money for him. They are thinking that way, that I have some mind control power and I have engaged these men. They are getting the money and I am enjoying. Srila Prabhupada recalled how, as early as 1969, when his temple in Los Angeles had purchased a few cars and number of devotees had begun increasing, the neighbors had become envious. Prabhupada said that he had invited them to also come and live in the Krishna consciousness community, but that their reply had always been no. Prabhupada said that the more the opposition created turmoil, the more Krishna consciousness would become famous. He also reasoned that people were reacting to his very strong preaching. I condemn everyone, he said, that they're all dogs and hogs. And the United Nations I called a pack of barking dogs. That is a fact. And in Chicago, I said, all women, you cannot have freedom. So I became a subject of great criticism. Srila Prabhupada concluded his meeting with Rameshwar by saying that the devotees should be very alert and intelligently defend the Krishna consciousness movement, but they should also understand that a higher principle was operating. This opposition indicated the genuineness of ISKCON. Even Krishna himself was sometimes the center of calamitous activities, such as when he fought with Kalia and other enemies, or when, as an infant, he fell into the Yamuna river. This is the beauty of Vrindavan, said Prabhupada. When Krishna entered the Yamuna to fight with Kalia, it was not at all good news for Mother Yashoda, Nanda, the friends and family, not at all. Their life was lost, but still Krishna was the center. This is Vrindavan. In everything, Krishna is in the center. So our situation is just like that. They are making bad propaganda against Krishna. This is the opposition. But I'm happy that Krishna is the center. That's all. This is the beauty of this movement. Although we are put into some difficulty, yet the center is Krishna. Srila Prabhupada wanted to travel with a group of his disciples by train to Allahabad.
Mother, can you just pause for a few moments?
Sure, Prabhu.
We know the slogan, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. But this slogan, chant Hare Krishna and fight, was coined by Srila Prabhupada himself. Now, generally, spiritual or religious movements are not associated with the word fight, except perhaps in the most unpopular people in the world today, are rightly so. Some of the Islamic groups who think about actually killing people and fighting and killing people and all that, they're rightly condemned. But so when Prabhupada is talking about chant Hare Krishna and fight, Prabhupada is not referring to that kind of a fight. Rather, he's talking about defeating them by intelligence, common sense, and arguments. Uh, in fact, the very word Saraswata, the very identification of ISKCON, ISKCON members, he defines in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the Saraswata Rupanugas, we are Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami, as taught by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And Prabhupada explains that Saraswata means, you can look this up in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada clearly explains this. Saraswatas have two-fold function. So it's like a two-pronged definition of a Saraswata. The first is that they preach the Krishna consciousness movement. Second is they defeat all kinds of opposing elements. So these are the two components of the definition of a Saraswata. So there's nothing called a meek and a timid. Okay, there's something called a timid Saraswata. Saraswatas, by definition, are bold preachers. We call out whatever is against the principles of pure devotion service, be it atheism, be it any form of materialism which violates the Krishna consciousness principles. We call out anything that is short of pure devotional service. Mayavada, whatever it may be, we call them. We defeat those things by arguments. Now you may say that, okay, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while dealing with Prakashananda Saraswati, he took a humble position. In behavior, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very humble. So we don't take we don't behave in manners that we are superior to anyone. No. We are always meek and humble in our behavior. But in our presentation, in our words, we do not compromise. We do not compromise when it comes to presenting Krishna conscious. We don't say everything is good, oh, this is good, that is good. Prabhupada's definition is very clear. Anything that is short of Krishna consciousness is not good. That's it. Period. And it is our duty to explain what it means. It is our duty to explain what that means. So, it is not that Krishna conscious people do not do good things. We do a lot of good things. We do, like Prabhupada said, let the whole world come, we will feed them. So when people talk about feeding, yes, we are feeding, but let them come to our temples. Let's honor, let them hear some kirtan, let them hear some katha, let them honor prasadam. So like that, or go down Sankirtan. Go down all the streets of the world. Go down Sankirtan, distribute books and distribute prasadam. So the point is that fighting cannot be avoided at any point in history. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, in a very nice article, he says, sometimes this method of opposition increases the preaching. Like here, Prabhupada is saying very clearly that this opportunity to fight is good because it gives us continuous remembrance of Krishna. So the very definition of the Krishna consciousness movement as a Saraswata means that we have to oppose. We cannot keep quiet. If something is presented against the principles of pure devotional service, that does not mean that we are not meek and humble in our behavior, but we have to oppose. We cannot be quiet. We cannot go along with it. We have to oppose. We have to oppose. Otherwise, we are falling short of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, falling short of the instructions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and we are not living up to the definition of a Saraswata. Because Prabhupada said, defeat them with logic, arguments. We have enough scripture, arguments, defeat them. There's no question of keeping quiet. In fact, keeping quiet means Prabhupada, like for example, he's talking about Chicago, where the reporters were upset with Prabhupada's comments about women. So Prabhupada said, okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's simply get everyone to chant Hare Krishna. So either get everyone to chant Hare Krishna, but if we are talking, we cannot compromise in our talk. We cannot change the philosophy. We cannot try to make it, make things obscure. Like, for example, the contribution of Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas in our line is they have made obscure truth clear. In the name of preaching, we should not make what is clear obscure. That is a disservice to the Krishna consciousness movement. We cannot make what is clear obscure just for the sake of getting some following. Prabhupada is not interested in such following. Prabhupada's interest was, even if one person becomes a pure devotee, then I consider the Krishna consciousness movement to be successful. This is what he has written in the preface to the Prabhupada Leelamrita. So this chant Hare Krishna and fight is an inseparable part of our identity. We cannot escape that. At any point in history, we will always have this requirement to chant Hare Krishna and fight. That is the very definition of a Saraswata. If you ask somebody to ask you, how do you define yourselves? It's very easy. Our definition is we chant Hare Krishna and we fight. That's it. Okay. I mean, I guess there's this is a big topic. There are lots to be said on it, but I just kept it in a. I've condensed it as densely as I could. But I'm sure that this will evoke some comments, reflections, questions. So we'll take them. Hare Krishna. I've turned on my video. I don't know if you'll be able to see me. Anyway, let's see. There's complete silence, which means there's complete agreement or complete disagreement. It could mean either.
Complete agreement, Prabhu. Complete agreement. No, it's very good. Thank you for that. I have a observation. We see constantly throughout Prabhupada's commentaries, etc., that he wanted this to be a mainstream movement for everyone. Yet, right from the day one, there has been a label attached to the movement, which may well have been a self-aggrandized label of a cult that is completely contradictory to what actually it is. It isn't a cult, it is mainstream Sanatana Dharma philosophy, yet it's defined as a cult in many genres. Where and why did that happen, and why can't we shake it?
I think one of the most, I mean, this is my take on it, is that we take a very strong stand that this material world is not a fit place to live. Do not even think about it. No, there is no spiritual movement anywhere. Okay, they speak about misery and so many different things, they talk about it. But everybody is trying to make the world a better place. We say, don't try to make the world a better place. Just think of, we don't think about, how do you say, we don't live to live, but we live to leave, L-E-A-V-E. Okay, so we are using whatever is there as nicely as possible so that we can leave. So we are not, I mean, I think this is one core element of our philosophy. I mean, our presentation of Krishna, one core element of our philosophy, like Prabhupada said, we are pessimistic about material life and material plans and material ambitions and every material plan making. We are completely opposed to all these material plan making and this and that. And so, which is why I think that we have the tag of being anti social or anti whatever society. Or we're not. We're trying to say that if we look at things independent of Krishna, it is completely useless. But if we can connect it to Krishna, then we say that we can turn the whole world into Vaikuntha. That does not mean that we develop the desire to live in this world. It simply means that everything inauspicious can be converted and made auspicious so that we can attain the goal of the human form of life. Not that we can attain the goal of human form of life, also live comfortably, nicely, I mean, Prabhupada does speak about these things. If you live in a farm, but the whole idea is to leave, L-E-A-V-E, live nicely to leave. But most people I mean, all spiritualists, or I mean, practically everybody speaks about having a very nice, sattvic, enjoyable lifestyle. So the whole concept is about how to enjoy in this world. Maybe sattvic enjoyment, but it's just how to enjoy, how to make life harmonious. But Prabhupada is very clear. Whatever you try to make harmonious, the threefold miseries are there. They will come and strike you. They'll knock out all your plans of trying to be harmonious. So the idea is we are interested in living in the most efficient manner to attain Krishna consciousness, Prema Bhakti. That's all. We are just using the material world as an instrument for us to attain our goal. We are not interested
but that was my point, Prabhuji, that what Prabhupada has extracted is the essence of the Vedas, the essence of Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam being the most mainstream literature of our Sanatana Dharma, being the central most nectarian portion of the summary portion of everything in the Vedas. And therefore, what we are preaching is actually core and central to Sanatana Dharma. So what Prabhupada is preaching is not extreme or fanatical. It is what the Shastra says. It is as it is. Whereas others are preaching effectively is essentially a cult, which is a diversion. So why have we ended up being branded a cult whilst others are mainstream? Do you see the difference I'm trying to?
Yeah, I think the idea is because our teachings are counterintuitive to most people, right? They all want to be, like, for example, I remember there is a Brahmin lady. Okay, I knew one devotee. This devotee's grandmother, Brahmin lady, brought up, I mean, very, very pious, very this thing, So she just cannot understand what are we trying to do in Krishna consciousness. I mean, she does, I mean, she even chants and she even offers food and all these things, But she has the idea that God has given you this body to enjoy. What are you doing? Why are you negating enjoyment? We are not negating enjoyment, of course. We are saying that this is useless. This is a prison suit. It is a sign of impiety. Like this morning, I was hearing a lecture, Prabhupada saying, anybody who has a material body means they're impious. That's all. Sinful. So this body is a symptom of sin. Okay, now we have got it. So let's engage it in Krishna's service and purify it. That's very different from the concept of this body is something meant for our enjoyment. We are saying that body is a product. I mean, this is a manifestation of sin. The very fact that we have a material body means we were sinful. That's why we are having this material body. So this is very counterintuitive to most people across the world. So because of that, and so much emphasis on all these things in the Bhagavatam, that completely rejecting all these material conceptions of life, it is providing a very tangible alternative. In fact, as Prabhupada would always say, electricity is not bad or good. It can be, it can be used for heating or cooling. So similarly, material nature is not bad. Material nature can be used to become Krishna conscious or have sense gratification. But most people think material nature is meant for sense gratification. Now we are saying material nature is not meant for sense gratification. So therefore, what we are talking is very different from what common people understand about religion and spirituality. This, I think, is one of the, we do things very differently from most people, right? Although externally it may appear same, we are also doing some yoga, we're also doing some mantra. But our whole concept, the way we look at the world is very different from the way others look at the world. They want a happy material life, right? But we don't care, happy material life, distress, we don't care. We are interested in a happy Krishna conscious life. That's all. This, I think, is what is the root of the problem. I mean, root of the the root of that whole thing. That we are perceived as those who deny society, deny everything material. We're not denying actually, but we are completely different from the way people think, live, and things like that. We want Krishna to be in the center, as Prabhupada is saying in this whole thing. We want Krishna to be center. We don't accept anything where Krishna is not the center. Like recently, I just happened to go to. I had to drop off my mother at some family members in my native in South India. So, and they were my aunts and others and all that. No? But I just refused to eat any cooked food. I said, you can offer me some fruit or give me some tender coconut or whatever. I won't eat cooked food. So they were asking why you don't eat cooked food. I said, cooked food means it has to be offered to the Lord. You have to cook it in a certain consciousness. You cannot be a non-vegetarian and cook and offer to the Lord. You can do it for your purification. I cannot honor it because I've taken some vows. So these kind of things are kind of perceived as unsocial, whatever. At the same time, of course, I mean, I was dealing with them nicely, but I couldn't budge from our principles. Our principles are principles. Doesn't matter if they're family members or not. So I think the kind of rigidity that we have about pure devotional service makes us appear what do you call it, antisocial or whatever. It's not exactly like that, but that's what it's perceived. It is not at all like that, but it's perceived like. And my take is this could be one of the reasons, and one of the main reasons. Like we don't give ideas how to make better roads and better this and better that. We don't give ideas how to improve the material world. Whereas a lot of spiritualists are giving ideas how to improve the material world. We don't do that. At least ISKCON today does not do it. I don't know if it will do 100 years down the line, but at least now it is not doing it. Shailesh going through. I don't know if you got what you're looking for.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I will perhaps just make a small observation that what Srila Prabhupada would do in these circumstances is that he would. I take your example of taking prasadam. I mean, Srila Prabhupada has taken prasadam at non-devotees' houses where they've even offered with onion and garlic, and he's told his devotees not to offend and to honor because it's the right cultural etiquette to do. Because there's more to be gained by showing compassion than there is to show rigidity. So I don't know how we should learn from it.
Yeah. See, I mean, okay, let me just, what do you call it, give you what's it? Now that you brought up this topic, okay. So this was something that I was criticized for the last 30 years in my life, because I've not attended a single marriage in the family, not attended a single function in the family, because it's all, I can't, I mean, it's just, I would say that, okay, I would prefer to just go there for an hour and just exit. But that's not practical because it's too far away and things there. Now, of course, we have a lot of devotees. So it's become more practical for me to even attend a marriage if I want to. I could just go and stay in a devotee's place and just go and quickly attend. But during those days, I mean, 30 years ago, it was not possible. So in my family, I've not done any of these things. So the perception that was there was that these Hare Krishnas are not very social. Okay. But something changed it. I was not doing this out of hatred, but I was just doing it that, look, I know you guys are not going to change your ways. I mean, you may, but then, yeah, by my coming and compromising for you, I'm going to be the loser. You're not going to change your ways, But so that was my conception, not because of the fact that, okay, I just didn't want to do it because of the fact that it's not productive. Then I was being criticized all these years until 2023 August. That is a few months ago. That's when my father began to fall sick, and the only way they could come to see him was come to Mayapur. And several families came to Mayapur. And when they came to Mayapur, they were shocked by what they saw. First of all, the spiritual atmosphere. And we received them well, we treated them well, we did every single thing possible. So much so that, see, I grew up in a joint family. We are about 30 family members. I'm not talking about one member, 30 families in our extended family. And several of them came to Mayapur. So much so that next year, 2024, November, they are planning to have a family gathering in Mayapur Dham. Now, all this happened within 2 months. What didn't happen in 30 years has changed in just 2 months. So this is, for me, this is a confirmation of the fact, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. If you do the right things at the right time, things will happen. But whereas I've seen others who have done all these other things, and where are the family members? No, I mean, it's just nothing has changed. But the fact that I didn't have to compromise. And now 30 years, I mean, in fact, 33 years later, 34 actually, 34 years later, they plan to have a family gathering in Mayapur. I mean, this is something inconceivable, even to me, forget about, other people, So if we stick with our principles and if we behave normally, it's not like we don't show hatred. I've been very cordial with everyone, but I just wouldn't compromise my principles. It worked. In the instances where Prabhupada went to families where he honored, in fact, he had onion also in one place. And when Prabhupada asked one of the disciples, what do you think about this? What do you think about the taste of onion? The disciple was very frightened what to say. Prabhupada said, oh, it tastes good, isn't it? So something like that. So, but Prabhupada was that those people were supporting the Krishna consciousness movement, and he invited him for a particular purpose. So Prabhupada went and did the needful there. So there's a big difference between someone wanting to have us in Krishna consciousness and being able to do a lot for Krishna consciousness, and also, I mean, it is a judgment call or based on the situation. I'll give you another example. The same me would refuse to eat even in extended family. In the year 2015 was Purushottam month, and I had a friend of mine and who had a lot of contacts in Delhi. And we went to meet the we went to meet the CEO of a very big entity, very, very big entity. So the only way to meet him was to of course, this friend of mine knew him, but nevertheless, so what he did was he called him to Hotel Moria. It's a 5-star hotel in Delhi, and both of us went there, and the CEO had come there. The idea was to get him to distribute 1008 Bhagavad Gitas to his contacts, and 1008 Bhagavad Gitas and 108 Bhagavatam sets. Get him to sponsor through his organization and send it to his contact. That was the idea. So we went there, we were in Hotel Moria, and when you go there, it's a talk over some food, right? So both of us were devotees, so we ordered some pasta, which was whatever, vegan, I don't know what it was. But then what did we order for him? We ordered lobster for him because that's what he wanted. So here was someone sitting and eating a lobster opposite us, and we are sitting in a hotel eating some karmi food. But we were sure that he's going to buy that 1008 Bhagavad Gita, distribute to his contacts, and get 108 Bhagavatam sets, which happened on the first day of Purushottam month in 2015. So circumstances may vary, but the principle is, if it's not going to produce some immediate effect, don't go for it. If you're going to compromise your principles, whatever, or if you're going to tread borderline on the principles, of course, there's no question of eating meat from us, but other things, like, for example, Prabhupada ate that onion in that place. But that is a real extreme thing, which only Prabhupada could do. I don't think we should imitate that to that extent. But nevertheless, the point is that if something tangible is not going to come out of it, be careful.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you for that. Yeah, my point was the mood with which we do it is more important sometimes. Our principles, you're in the same boat as I've been in for the last 40 years of my life as well. Yeah, so and you've shown some hope that in 34 years you've managed to turn something around, but I haven't had that turnaround yet. many of my extended family. So, but yeah, the mood with which we approach them sometimes is equally important. If we can have stern principles, but if we act fanatically with those principles and look down upon people, then that creates, engenders negativity. But if we say, no, I respect what you do, but this is what I do, and this is, we won't eat because these are our principles, but still treat them cordially, still treat them with love and respect. I think that eventually has, even if they don't change, at least they will have respect for our movement and our principles. I think I found that to be a rule that works well.
Yeah, if you're cordial with them, they'll actually respect you. I remember in 2018, I just wanted to share this is a very humorous story. In 2018, now we have a lot of devotees everywhere, in South India also. So I don't have a problem now anymore to attend some wedding, or because there are devotees, I can stay with them, go and attend a wedding. So 2018, one of my nephews was getting married. So, and I happened to be in South India at that point in time. So I was talking to one of my cousins and I told him, look, I'm planning to attend this wedding. I'll be there for a few hours and then leave. Then he told me, I think it's better you don't do it. I asked, why? He said, you've not attended weddings in our family for such a long time. So suddenly, if you start attending this wedding, they'll think you're partial to this nephew only. No, that's going to create more political problems than what he can conceive of. My advice is don't do it. Just everybody's got, kind of understood that you're not going to come to these functions. So let that continue. Don't change it now and create more complications. Anyway, I just wanted to share something humorous. But anyway, all of that has changed now because they had a different conception. Of course, they didn't have any. They just thought that our lifestyle is a little bit strange. But after having come to Mayapur and having seen there and how, whatever, they felt that we're very normal people and just that we have some constraints. So then most of them told us, now we understand, okay, because you people only eat prasadam, your whole lifestyle is centered on Krishna. So how is it possible for you to attend our ceremonies and then we can understand the complication. They could get it actually after they came to Mayapur. And I didn't arrange it. I should say this. I didn't do anything actually. It's just by Krishna's grace that they happened to come, whatever. Actually, my father gets the credit for having come and lived in Mayapur with me. So due to which they came to see him.
Prabhu, I have some questions, but I'll ask you next week because I'm in Mayapur and so much disturbance here, Prabhu. So I can't
Okay.
ask you now, so I'll ask you next week, Prabhu. But,
You
yes,
can
Prabhu?
also, I don't know how long you're there because right now I'm in Vrindavan.
No, I'll be leaving day after, Prabhuji.
Okay. So
There is a girls' camp there here, so I brought some girls from our temple here for that camp.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. So we are leaving day after tomorrow. So next week I'll ask the question, Prabhu.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru.
Yes, Mataji. Neela
Can
Mataji.
I
Yeah.
ask some?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for wonderful explanation for the word Rupanugas and as well as some Saraswatas. So Saraswata means you said bold preacher. So as a preacher, where should we draw a line that this is my capacity? So I can do this, and this is beyond my capacity, which I don't want, which I should not try. Is there anything like that? Should we think like that and take up some services or new projects?
No. This basically, first of all, Rupanugas means follower of Rupa Goswami.
Yes.
But Saraswata is the specific thing where Prabhupada says we preach and we also oppose anything which we defeat all opposition.
Yes.
Or anything which is different from pure devotion. Now, if you're referring to preaching, when we say we should not do things beyond our capacity, it simply means that if we cannot maintain a mood of humility, of humility means that I'm representing my spiritual master. I'm representing Srila Prabhupada. So I have to behave myself, So, but I can present the Krishna conscious philosophy strongly, but I have to behave myself. So if we are not capable of doing that, then we shouldn't do it. I mean, I'm giving a generic answer because you asked me a generic question. So if you tell me something more specific, then I could shed some light on that.
At present, by Krishna's mercy and my Guru Maharaj mercy, I'm preaching in a in the schools. Now, after a year of preaching in the schools, I'm getting more and more opportunities. That means new contacts are coming. They are also inviting us to come and preach in their schools. But now, I don't know whether I will be able to do it or not. Now, at present, I'm preaching in 2 schools. So I'm a little bit confused whether should I take up the new schools or should I just settle in these 2 schools first and then take up the new project. So in that way, I'm in a
Oh, okay. This has got nothing to do with boldness, Mataji. This is only a question of capacity, whether you have the ability to do it or not, right? So that's more like this has got boldness means to present the philosophy as it is. But here it's more a question of your capacity, whether you will be able to do it or not. So which you need to talk to your husband, you need to talk to people with whom you're engaged with, and I mean others who know you. So they may be able to shed some light on something like this, which because they know you far better than everybody else. There's no generic answer to this. I mean, the general answer is if someone can do it, yes, they should do it. But whether you can do it, yeah, that you'll have to consult with your family, your husband, and your people whom you're working with. I'm sure that you're doing this project along with other people, other devotees.
yes.
So yeah, so just see what the general opinion is of the devotees are. Then from there you will get an idea, a clue.
And that's why I asked this question. Should I draw a line? This is what my capacity. The 2 schools are enough for me, or should I take up the new one? Okay, Prabhu. I'll try that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on you, no? Like, for example, some things are obvious, some things are not obvious. If it is obvious to you that you cannot do it, you should not do it. But if it is not so obvious, then you need to ask, you need to consult and see what are the pros and cons. And then from there, maybe you'll be able to understand. Or if you're really not able to understand, then just go by what they're saying.
Yes, Prabhu. So, as an individual, what should I do? Should I just pray to Krishna and Prabhupada? Because the
Yeah,
school
yeah.
programs are not, I mean, I did not go beyond this, behind the schools that I wanted to preach only in the schools. It came on its own during book distribution.
See, Prabhupada explains what does taking the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna mean. Prabhupada explains this very nicely. He says taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna means taking shelter of his devotees. That's what he mentions. Very nicely he mentions this. So when we say praying to Prabhupada, praying to Krishna, they answer through the devotees, or sometimes very rarely it can happen, not rarely, I can't say rare or not rare, but it can even happen through the non-devotees. Like Prabhupada was distributing the Back to God magazine in tea stalls. So there was a gentleman who told him that he's not a devotee. He told him that if you had to print books, that would be more valuable because people don't throw away books like they throw away magazines. So Prabhupada immediately understood my Guru Maharaj was instructing me through this person. So uh, that is the conception of the principle of Sri Guru, which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions, that everything animate and inanimate in this world, forget about animate, even inanimate in this world, he says is a manifestation of my Guru Deva to help me to progress towards the ultimate goal of my life. So if we see everyone and everything as objects, as representatives of my Guru Deva to help me attain the highest goal of my life, then there is no shortage of instructions, shortage of knowing how to do things. Of course, that's a practice. We need to, when we chant the holy name, we need to cry out to the holy name like a genuine child cry of a child for its mother. So like if we do the activities with that mood, uh, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. So if we do to that attitude, I'm helpless, I'm made of your mercy. So if we practice Krishna consciousness in that mood, then we'll also be able to perceive everything and everyone as representatives of Sri Gurudeva. And then you will be able to also uh, chart out the course of your life rather effortlessly.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll close for today. We'll resume again next Sunday. Thank you all for very much for joining. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyavcha paritanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo namo namah.